Michael and Ashley were the kind of a pair of people admired each other and met in college full with bright and motivated students, with aspirations of a future they could build. Together, their love grew steadily throughout the years, culminating in beautiful wedding shortly after graduation as they were nearing. Michael's life appeared ideal at 30. I worked as a software developer, juggling the requirements of his position with a deep. Ashley has always been committed to his family. Min, the multitasker, was a graphic designer, who had converted to freelance. After their daughter Lily was born at 4 years old, Lily was a ball of delight, filling their home with fun, and only a kid has this type of chaotic energy. They lived in a quiet suburb. Their days are filled with routines that revolves on work-family meals and evenings spent playing with Lily, watching their favorite shows. Outsiders, they were the embodiment of a happy family, including Michael and Ashley. Believed it themselves, there have been no indicators of distress, no secrets. Shadows lurk beneath the surface. On a lovely fall morning, they sat at the breakfast table. Ashley brought up. She received her old invitation. Amanda, my college buddy, was getting wedded. Michael remembered Amanda. Only dimly a vibrant woman had been. As a member of Ashley's circle, on university days, she invites all of us. Attend the wedding, Ashley replied while sipping her coffee. She really wants me to come to her bachelorette party. She keeps expressing how much she misses me. It will be enjoyable. Michael smiled as he took another bite. His toast is fantastic, and it will be enjoyable for. What is your plan for catching up with her? Ashley beamed in anticipation of the gathering, lighting up with excitement. It's nothing wild, it's just a gaggle of chicks heading out. Dinner followed by spending the day at a. Amanda insisted that I join Sheck, the spa complex. Michael has begged me for weeks. It sounds innocent enough, so I'll hold the fort here with Lily. Ashley bent down to kiss his cheek. Thank you, babe, you're the best. As Michael watched, she heads upstairs to prepare for her day. He felt a wonderful sense of pride and trust was the foundation of their connection. He had no reason to question Ashley's. In their universe, words are important. Everything was fine, so he thought. The day of Amanda's bachelorette celebration arrived, and Michael was a picture of domestic efficiency. Ashley went to Amanda's bachelorette party is the whole. The event lasted approximately 24 hours. Michael spent the day hopping between houses, chores, and working on his laptop while Lily entertained herself with crayons and cartoons. The hours flew by quickly. By the following evening, Ashley was finishing off his business. Stepped in the door. She looked radiant. Her hair was slightly ruffled, and her cheeks blushed with laughter. But there was something else, a brief nervousness. Her expression instantly reflected worry. Despite her customary bright smile, how was? Michael asked with a kind tone. Ashley stated, it was fun, brushing a strand of hair behind her ears. Dinner was excellent, and the spa was. Amanda had a great time relaxing. Her statements were light, but lacked the. Ashley conveyed her usual comprehensive excitement. After a night out, Michael noticed. Did not press, he trusted her. Why wouldn't he? A week later, the family. I attended Amanda's wedding, which was a wonderful affair filled with laughter and music. Nice food. Michael and Ashley mixed. The guests caught up with some of Ashley's college friend, Lily, dressed in the adorable floral dress, stole the show. With her boundless energy, Michael found he was chatting with the groom, friendly man who appeared genuinely smitten with Amanda. Ashley floated between conversations, her laughter echoing across the venue. She appeared perfectly at. She felt more at ease than she did after. Bachelorette party was wonderful. As they drove home late that day night, Michael felt grateful for their life, and the moments they shared together. Weeks later, on an otherwise unremarkable Tuesday, Michael was at home, immersed in job and keeping an eye on Lily as she played in the living room. The day was moving along uneventfully until the front door opened and Ashley stepped interior side earlier than expected. Michael looked up astonished. "Hello, what are you doing home?" Ashley hesitated, standing in the doorway as if unsure how to answer. "Oh, nothing serious," she said, swiftly, her voice conveying a slight tremor. "Simply some troubles at work. I needed to grab a few documents and sketches and maybe change into something more comfortable before heading back." The words were nonchalant, yet her demeanor was anything but. She seemed to distract her. Her gaze darted across the room as she Michael's curiosity was piqued, but he chose not to press and merely nodded. After returning to his laptop, Ashley headed upstairs, and the house became silent, except for the tiny clink of lilies. Michael stretched and leaned back. There was a slight thud on the couch. Disturbed the stillness, he turned towards the sound and noticed Ashley's. The purse on the table had tipped over, fallen to the floor. "Guess the table," he murmured. "It's not as steady as I thought." Getting up to pick it up, he grasped. The purse is a folded sheet of paper, slipped out and fluttered to the floor. Michael bent to get it, meaning to slip it back inside. His hand froze. In mid-motion, the paper was creased as if it has been unfolded and refolded. Several times Michael's hands trembled as he carefully unfolded the paper. Pulse raced. A chilly knot of fear formed in his gut. The words on the document. He had unambiguous positive STD test results. I blinked reading it again, thinking he would misinterpreted, but not the stark fact. Look back at him. The test date was just a few days before Ashley's. The name was written in strong letters at the. For a moment, Michael, top of the page. He felt the room tilt around him and his mind. How could this be? And where would Ashley has contracted a STD? His thoughts spiral into darkness. Consider the implications gnawing at him. The sound of footsteps jolted him back. Michael quickly returned to the present moment, the paper, and put it back in Ashley's purse, ensuring that it appeared undisturbed. Sat back down on the couch, forcing to appear calm as Ashley. I descended the stairs and found the sketches I needed, she said, grabbing her purse. I'll see you tonight, okay? Sure. Michael replied, his voice steady despite the storm brewing inside him. Have a good day. Ashley smiled faintly and was out the door before he could say another word. Once she was gone, Michael leaned back against the couch, staring blankly at the ceiling. His thoughts churned like a storm. The timing of the test, the positive result, it all pointed to a painful possibility. Had Ashley cheated on him? The thought felt like a knife twisting in his gut, but another realization struck him, one that made his stomach churn with fear. If Ashley had contracted something, then what about me? Their intimacy just days ago could mean he was at risk too. Michael decided he needed answers, but confronting Ashley immediately wouldn't help. He needed to think, to gather his own information. Before jumping to conclusions, he resolved to get tested himself. Only then could he approach her armed with facts. Before you find out what happens next, please subscribe to the channel. The next morning, Em was up early. Ashley behaved as though nothing was wrong, humming softly as she prepared breakfast. Her demeanor was so normal, so routine, that Michael found himself questioning whether he'd imagined the previous day's events. Mind if I take Lily to my parents' place for the afternoon? Michael asked casually. They've been wanting to see her, and I could use a break to catch up on work. Ashley nodded, distracted. Sure, I've got a lot to do today. Anyway, it struck Michael how effortlessly she was masking whatever turmoil must have been within her. He marveled at her composure, even as He felt betrayed by it after dropping Lily off with his parents. Michael drove to his doctor, an old friend explaining only that he'd been exposed to a potential risk. Michael requested a full panel of tests. His friend didn't pry, only reassuring him that results would take a couple of days. As Michael drove home, he felt a strange mix of dread and determination. The waiting would be unbearable, but at least he was doing something, taking a step toward understanding what was going on. Over the next 2 days, Michael watched Ashley closely, hoping for a clue, an explanation, something. She acted as though life was perfectly normal. King playing with Lily, chatting with Michael in the evenings. Her laughter felt genuine, her affection unforced, yet the more normal she appeared, the more it unsettled him. How could she behave this way if she knew about the test, if she knew about the results? Michael felt trapped, torn between disbelief and suspicion. A part of him hoped there was a reasonable explanation, but another part, the part that couldn't forget the medical report, feared the worst. The clock was ticking, and Michael knew that once his test results came back, there would be no avoiding the truth. Michael sat at his desk, his focus wavering as he wrapped up a report on his latest project. His mind kept drifting, thoughts clouded by the weight of uncertainty. Then his phone buzzed on the table, breaking the silence. He glanced at the screen. Tom swiping to answer. He pressed the phone to his ear. "Hey Tom, Michael, your test results are in." Tom said, his voice calm but measured-eyed. "Like you to come in. I want to examine you again and discuss the results in person." Michael's heart sank. Tom's tone was professional, but there was a gravity to it that made Michael uneasy. "All right," he said after a moment. "I'll head over as soon as I can." He rushed to complete his work, barely focusing as he submitted his report and emailed his supervisor to ask for the afternoon off. His coworkers noticed his unusual distraction, but Michael didn't stop to explain. Within an hour, he was in his car heading to Tom's office. Tom greeted him with a firm hand shake and ushered him into the examination room. He closed the door, the usual lighthearted banter replaced by a somber professionalism. Tom held a folder in his hand, and Michael's chest tightened as his friend opened it. "Michael," Tom began gently, "your test results came back positive. You've contracted the same infection we discussed." The words hit Michael like a blow. Even though he had braced himself for the possibility, he stared at the report in Tom's hands. The confirmation, STD, and undeniable. "But there's good news," Tom continued, placing a reassuring hand on Michael's shoulder. "We caught it early. You're not experiencing symptoms yet, and the disease is still in a stage where treatment is straightforward. I'm prescribing a course of medication that should resolve it completely within a few weeks." Michael nodded numbly, absorbing the information as Tom went on to explain the treatment plan. "It's important," Tom added, his tone firm, "that you will avoid any intimate contact until the treatment is finished and we confirm the infection is cleared. Do you understand?" "Yes," Michael said, his voice low but resolute. He was grateful for the reassurance, but still reeling from the implications. Tom handed him the prescription along with a copy of his results, pausing for a moment before speaking again. "Michael, I know this is a lot to process. If you need to talk or have questions, you know I'm here for you." I managed a faint smile. The in case, Tom, I appreciated. The drive home felt surreal, his thoughts of whirlwind of shock, anger, and confusion. The evidence was overwhelming now. Ashley had been unfaithful. There was no other explanation. The trust they had built over years of love and partnership had been shattered by the time Michael pulled into the driveway. His emotions had turned from sorrow to determination. He couldn't live with the uncertainty any longer. He wanted answers, and he needed them now. Ashley was in the kitchen as Michael walked in, the smell of dinner floating through the air. She turned to him with a smile, yet her smile wavered when she saw his face. Michael, is everything okay? She queried, her tone laden with anxiety. No. Michael said, openly, his voice steady but cold. He dropped his suitcase on the counter and fixed her with a piercing gaze. We need to talk. Immediately, Ashley froze, the color draining from her face. What's this about? She questioned. Michael gently held up the folder. Tom gave him, his fingers tightening around it. About this, about us, about what you have been hiding from me. Ashley's lips parted as if to say, but no words came. Her hands trembled as she sat down, the spatula she was holding. Michael's jaw constricted as he taking a deep breath, steeling himself for conversation that would change. Michael stood in the kitchen, with his medical information in hand, his rage hardly contained. Ashley's face was pale. Her gaze darted between the folder and Michael's furious expression. I want the Ashley demanded the facts with a strained voice. With emotion, I witnessed how this happened. You have Ashley's test in your handbag. Her eyes widened, but she immediately covered them. Panic, Michael. I'm not sure what I'm talking about you. Maybe you're one to whom. She hesitated, her voice trembling. Perhaps you had some kind of fling and you don't remember how. Michael, what else could have happened? Restraint snapped. Are you serious? Now he roared, his voice booming. Through the home you believe I'd cheat on. Ashley, you are the one who is hiding things. I saw your test results, and they don't turn. Ashley flinched, but continued to grasp for reasons. Maybe you got it from somewhere, somehow, I don't know. Michael, and now you're blaming me for things you might have done. Michael's hands tightened into fists at his sides, his nails cutting into his palms. Cease lying to me, he roared. Ashley, you know above everything, we cherish truth and trust. But what I can't tolerate is, if you don't tell me the truth, you're lying to me. I pledge to find the complete truth right now. I want to hire the best lawyer I can and file for divorce. You believe this circumstance is horrible. That would be the saddest scenario for. Ashley opened her mouth in protest, but stumbled. Her shoulders dropped, and her lips started to shake, and her eyes. Tears welled up as she slipped onto kitchen chair, crying. I didn't cheat, she said faintly, her voice breaking. I didn't mean for any of this to happen. Michael leaned against the counter, his arms crossed, his face mask of fury and bewilderment. You didn't. If you mean for it to happen, then explain it. Ashley's sobs got louder. Louder. She wiped her face with trembling hands at Amanda's. At the bachelorette celebration, she finally admitted. Her words came out between sobs. Everything went nice at first. We had dinner, laughed, and drank some wine. Amanda brought a few males over. Michael's eyes told him it was simply for fun. He narrowed his expression, stiffening. Man. Ashley nodded miserably as they continued to talk. At first, there was nothing but dancing, flirting, but things became more romantic. The discussion turned. We began chatting about our intimate lives, about regretting things we hadn't done for her. Her voice cracked as she continued. They mocked me, Michael, knowing that I had only been with you. They stated I didn't know what I was missing. I'm not sure what came over me. I wasn't thinking. Clearly, the mood was overpowering. I gave in to Michael's breath, captured as her confession sank in. He placed his hands to his head, gripping. You're telling me about his hair, he said. His voice was steadily trembling with rage. You slept with one of them at Amanda's. Ashley nodded as her tears flowed. Yes, I didn't want to, Michael. I swear I didn't. I was bewildered, pressured, and felt so out of control. Michael let out a sour laugh. He shakes his head in astonishment. So, you simply chose to betray me to betray. Ashley's tears became deeper, and she buried. Putting her face in her hands was a mistake. Michael, I've regretted every moment. And when did you begin experiencing Michael regretted interrupting his voice. Spiked with venom before or after you. Ashley flinched when she was tested positive, though struck a week and a half later. She confessed, I began to feel. When I was in discomfort, I went to doctor and discovered Michael's fury deepened, and instead of telling me you, I determined to find out by jeopardizing my health. I believed I could quietly solve it. Ashley pleaded, and I wondered if I got addressed quickly, it would all go away. You'd never know I was scared. Michael, I did not want to lose you. Michael clenched his jaw. His emotions were a volatile mix of rage and heartbreak. He asked the other women coldly, did they have fun too? Ashley paused, but nodded. Practically all of them, she murmured. Michael turned away and paced the kitchen. His hands gripped his hips as he strained to control his anger. Unbelievable, he mumbled. Unbelievable. Ashley rose from her chair. I'm sorry, Michael. Her voice was urgent. Please, I know I've wrecked everything. I didn't intend to hurt you. Wondering, please forgive me, Michael spun. To confront her, his eyes blazing, forgive you. You spat, you lied to me, Ashley. You risked me, I don't even recognize you anymore. Ashley wept harder, collapsing to her knees. Please, Michael, I'll do anything to make this right. Michael's voice was cold and resolute. There is no making this right. I am filing for divorce. But you have one final chance to arrive clean. Tell me everything, or I will make sure this divorce is anything from gentle. Ashley collapsed under the weight of his. Her tears are soaking the floor. Michael looked down at her heart. His trust was destroyed beyond repair. Ashley stayed on the kitchen floor. Tears running down her face, she sobs. Shaking her frame, she told the narrative, this time with painstaking detail. Her voice quivered as she described every moment leading up to the betrayal. Michael stood still with his arms crossed. His expression was unreadable. He listened. His silence weighed down each syllable from Ashley, cut deeper into the wound that had. She had already bled him dry by the time she finished. Michael breathed sharply, turning away from me. I need time to think, he stated bluntly, voice devoid of feeling. Without waiting, he left the room while waiting for an answer, fleeing upstairs into the solitude of the following morning. Michael rise early after a sleepless night filled with a maelstrom of emotions, rage, sadness, betrayed. He knew what he needed to do. I contacted a lawyer and booked appointment for later that day. When Ashley woke up, Michael was sitting at the kitchen table. His face was set, grim, determined. She approached cautiously. Her face was swollen after a night of crying. Michael, please, she began, voice pleading, don't do this, don't throw. Michael's eyes met hers. Ashley is not just cold and resolute about what you did, he said in his voice steady, it's about what you destroyed. I cannot trust you anymore, and without trust there's nothing left. Ashley fell. She kneels alongside him, gripping his. We can repair this. I'll do everything. Michael, therapy, counseling, whatever it takes. Michael took his arm away, his resolution unshaken. I've already determined. The divorce is happening. He paused, his jaw clenching before proceeding, but there's something else. Ashley's tear-filled eyes expanded in horror. What do you mean? Michael took a deep breath, his tone cold and clinical. I want a DNA test for Lily after everything that's happened. I need to know for sure. Ashley's face crumpled as she let out a wail of anguish. How could you even think that Lily is your daughter, Michael? She's yours. Michael remained unmoved. If Ashley is mine, I will provide proof. Honor what we had for her sake. The divorce will be fair, and I will not make things are difficult for you. But if she is not, he did not continue the sentence, letting the unspoken effects linger. Ashley's cries became louder as she tugged at him, urging him to believe. Please, Michael, she is yours and ours. Little girl, don't do this. Oh, us, Michael, stood looking down at her with a combination of pity and steely resolve. This is the situation you've left me with no choice. The days preceding the test results were tense and emotionally exhausting. Michael, I avoided unwanted conversations with. Ashley focuses instead on Lily. Bright laughing was the only thing. Ashley, on the other end, is keeping him grounded. Her hand was a wreck of remorse and terror, written all over her face when Michael read the results when they eventually arrived. With a throbbing heart, Lily was his. Daughter relief flooded over him, but was short-lived, but drowned out by despite the greater realities of his destroyed marriage. I went to Ashley that evening, clutching the results in his palm. She's mine, he said. Simply, his tone was gentler than it had been. Ash sobbed for days with relief clinging to this gleam of hope. Michael, please. We can work through this and rebuild. Michael shook his head. Sadness replaced the anger in his eyes. No, Ashley, everything we had is gone. I can't live with you after what you've done. I will keep my promise, and the divorce will be fair. We'll share custody of Lily and I. I will not make this tougher than it needs to be. Ashley burst into tears again. She appeared to comprehend that the decision was final in the weeks that, following the divorce procedures moved. Michael immediately lived up to his word. They did not battle for sole custody, and Ashley distributed their possessions fairly, maintained the house while Michael moved in an apartment near Lily. Though the divorce was amicable in legal terms, the emotional toll was evident. For Michael, it was bittersweet relief to end a marriage that was once his greatest joy, but had become his worst pain. For Ashley, it was the price of a costly miscalculation. Everything. Michael and Ashley settled, entering a new normal, co-parenting Lily, as much civility as they could manage. For Lily's sake, Michael retained his contacts with Ashley were cordial, but far away. His heart had hardened against, but his affection for their daughter remained unshaken. Months later, Michael found that the divorce was finalized. He reflected on the chain of events that led to the collapse of. Throughout his marriage, one name kept coming up. If it weren't for Amanda, possibly an unsuccessful bachelorette party, none of this would have occurred. Michael decided it was time for some justice, at least a nudge in the direction of. He picked up his phone and scrolled. He searched his connections until he discovered Bruce. Amanda's husband had met Bruce during the wedding and remembered him as a pleasant, easygoing person. Bruce, this is Michael, he said, attempting to sound casual. We met at your wedding. Amanda's friend Ashley was my wife at the time. Oh, Michael, how are things going? Bruce replied enthusiastically. Not too bad, Michael lied easily. Bruce, I just wanted to congratulate you again. I heard Amanda. Bruce is pregnant, which is fantastic news. Oh, thank you, Guy. We are excited. Everything is going wonderfully. Michael hesitated before steering the conversation toward his objective. Is good. I'm glad you know that weddings are always quite wild, especially those pre-wedding gatherings. He chuckled softly. Bruce laughed. Amanda told me about it. Their spa day sounded like a fun. Michael smirked, but maintained his tone. Innocent spa day? You know how sometimes these bachelorette parties are not as innocent as they appear. Bruce's laughing diminished slightly. What do? Do you mean? Michael lowered his voice. I don't feign reluctance, Bruce. I don't mean to cause trouble, but I think, let's say I found out some things. After that, I thought it was always. It's good to be cautious. You might want to consider getting a medical checkup just to be safe. Medical checkup, Bruce said, sounding. Michael, puzzled, let out a dramatic sigh. Let's just say, not every partygoer night stuck to the spa and cucumber. If you understand what I mean. Bruce laughed awkwardly, shrugging it off. Amanda isn't like that. Aside from that, she is currently pregnant. Couldn't be better, Michael beamed. Of course, Bruce has a phone. A friendly piece of advice. That's all. Better safe than sorry, right, Bruce? Chuckled again, though it sounded less. Confident this time, yeah, thanks. Michael, I'll keep that in mind. What started as a nagging feeling for Bruce transformed into an itch he couldn't ignore. Over the next few days, Michael's words repeated in his head despite himself. Bruce decided to book a checkup just to put his mind at ease. To his shock, the findings came back positive. Bruce was blindsided. How could this be? The gnawing doubt Michael had planted now flowered into full-blown suspicion. Bruce started putting together time frames and conversations with Amanda, and the cracks in their picture-perfect story began. Amanda delivered birth many months later. Bruce's concerns were validated. In the most obvious aspect, the child was not. The fallout was terrible. Amanda's treason came to light. Their marriage crumbled amid a storm. Michael faces accusations and grief. Learned about the drama through mutual acquaintances after he heard the entire story. He couldn't help but laugh. Karma Amanda, sweet poetic karma, while Bruce's life disintegrated. Michael focused. While rebuilding his own, he maintained a cordial friendship with Ashley for Lily's sake. No amount of time or apologies could help him regain his faith in her. Ashley occasionally hinted at reunion. Her optimism is still flickering. But Michael was always careful. The wounds were too deep, and the life they had previously enjoyed was a closing chapter. While Michael watched Lily develop and thrive, he discovered serenity in his new normal. He had learned that life, though untidy, and the unexpected, had a way of serving justice in its own time. Sometimes it even delivered a punchline. If you love this post, please subscribe to the channel. I wish you a fantastic mood and nice luck.